Hi everyone, it is March 6, 2024. Hope you're all doing well. I'm going to ask all of you a favor. Please pray really hard for me that I can get back to Anderson, South Carolina, to my familiar place. I'm really struggling and just, I don't know, put it out to the universe, pray that I can get back there somehow. All of these moves have really done a number, and I'm really, I'm needing to get back to something familiar. And what's going on with this? YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. So, what's happening here? Is it buffering? It looks like it's buffering. Wow. What's going on? Anybody know? Open window. What is this error? Is it buffering a lot? Yeah, this is a hotspot. It's not good. It's not reliable. And this is what I'm stuck with. So, yeah. Alright, well. Hello, Kenosis and Linty London and Andrew Cruz and Blues du Jour. Sherry Hughes, thank you very much. Alicia and Mike Luft and Rage Against the Machine and Michael Griffin and Amber Eyes. Okay, too. Oh God, is the State of the Union tonight? It's not on a Wednesday. Ray Clay, Patricia White, hello. Marty Lauderdale, thank you very much. Laura Flarson, T. Lamb, thank you. To all of my moderators, a big shout out of appreciation to all of you. Space Indian, Silent Walk, Paige, Hay, Oracle 11, Hypocrites Matrix. No buffering here. Okay. Well, I sure would like to see this banner removed. Good on your end. Good to know. Extremely low audio. I can't help with that. So, raise it on your end. And it's different for all different devices. Yeah, I'm still in Arizona. Well, buffering a whole lot. Alright, let's just go. So, this is in Brazil.
Sai que tá esse carro, moço! Olha! Sai de dentro!
Heavy rain hit Sao Paulo on Tuesday, causing widespread flooding in multiple areas, disrupting metro and train services.
Pelo jeito a aula hoje.
Firefighters rescued people stranded on car roofs.
Realmente completo. Eu faço barulho. Lá vem carro. Ai, meu Deus!
Images circulated on social media showed vehicles submerged in the central region. The flood alert was lifted by 8:30 p.m.
Well, I see that some of you are having buffering and some of you are not, so there's nothing I can do about it. We have from horizon to horizon full thick cloud covering. The hotspot, maybe it's that the clouds are interfering with the satellites that give the Wi-Fi for this live stream. And this banner is hanging out, so I don't think, I think this is going to be a problem throughout. So yeah, Brazil got hit with a lot of flooding, but what a surprise, huh? No, it's not. Outpouring of hay and feed from Oklahoma making a difference in lives of Texans impacted by those quote-unquote wildfires.
We're still looking for hay, feed, all of it. So I've still got people calling from all over the country to help me.
An outpouring of donated hay and feed from northeast Oklahoma is making a big difference in the lives of Texans impacted by these devastating wildfires.
Fox 23's Amy Hybels joins us live from Coweta with more on the effort that kicked off last weekend and continues on Saturday. Amy?
That's right. Last weekend, we found out a convoy of about 24 trucks made its way from Main Street right here in Coweta to the Texas Panhandle. They were carrying much needed bags of feed, bales of hay for those ranchers devastated by those wildfires. Now they hope to double that effort this weekend. This was the scene around 4:30 Sunday morning on Main Street in Coweta. A Panhandle fire relief convoy headed from Oklahoma to Texas, bringing much-needed supplies for ranchers impacted by the largest wildfire in state history. This video, shot by convoy organizer Casey Thomas on his phone, shows the charred landscape in the Texas Panhandle.
It was nothing like I could ever imagined. Around here we get grass fires and everything's charred and black. Up there, there's so much wind that all the ash and everything's gone. It's just straight sand blowing everywhere.
Thomas says he saw dead cattle. Their group helped a woman who lost 130 head of cattle and her home. She and her husband living in their car. For the cattle who have survived, there's no grass to eat.
Typically, you're going to feed these to cows. It's around a 3/4 inch, and that's what most farmers are going to feed cows or bigger heifers, is these cubes, especially in the wintertime.
John Harmon, who runs the Farmers Co-op in Coweta, says the convoy trucked bags of feed like this and bales of hay from along I-40 into the Texas Panhandle to the Fritch area in southeast of Canadian. 2 trucks were also sent to Shutok, Oklahoma. John tells me last Saturday the phones here at the feed store were ringing off the hook. He says within 4 hours they had 15 tons of feed donated. That's in addition to the 400 round bales of hay donated from farmers in Oklahoma and Kansas. Everything was donated, with calls coming in from Oklahoma and out of state, including Arkansas, Missouri, and Virginia.
So I had a lady from Virginia call. She saw it on YouTube and she said, hey, we got to help. So she called us up here Saturday and we sold her. She said, I want to spend $1,000.
The next convoy will roll out at 5 a.m. on Saturday. Thomas hopes to double the donations.
But everyone that's seen us run out to the road just waving and smiling as big as they could. I mean, it was something to see.
How does that make you?
They need the help. They need the help. So I was sent this from a subscriber. I'm going to be honest. A whole lot of stuff is boring me now because I've posted it 13 years, posting it again, posting it there, here, and everywhere, and nothing came of it. Nothing. You know, the Dane Wigingtons, the regardless of the issue, the Naomi Wolfs, the big channels out there, doesn't matter. Nothing comes of anything. And that's very disheartening.
Center of Circulation. My name is Scott Stevens. I studied meteorology at the University of Kansas, and that was my first TV job. Was on the air, was in Topeka, and then I worked in Omaha and Tulsa, Albany, New York, and then out into eastern Idaho in the Pocatello, Idaho Falls market for the last 10 years of my 20-year career doing weather. It wasn't until about 2005 when I got deep into the weather modification aspect of this story of geoengineering. One of the parts of the program that is very important that plays into the chemtrails is the precision of these actions in the atmosphere. These chemtrails are absolutely required, so they introduce the right energy at the right location for the right length of time. These trails are wires in the sky.
The combined technologies like HARP and the chemtrails were designed to work together as weather weapons.
HARP, the High Frequency Active Auroral Research Project, it is filled with phased array antennas. They steer microwaves into the ionosphere where they will activate all of the ions up there.
They can use excitation waves that actually affect the metallic particles. So we've ionized the air column. They can heat it. They can cool it. HARP has directional antennas, and they can focus their antennas on where they want to move the jet stream, and they can hit the jet stream, and they create an artificial high.
If you accentuate the high, if you amplify a little bit, it's like building a mound of dirt, and you have a little creek or a little stream of water coming. You build the mound of dirt, that water's not going to go through it. So you build the mound, and then that's going to impact storms that are inbound. And so it's very easy to add those particulates of aluminum, barium, and whatever else they want to put in there. Then as you add heat to that, those particulates then radiate the heat into the atmosphere, and it warms. And what does a warming atmosphere do? Boom, it expands. We see more intense droughts. We see rainfall rates of 1 to 2.25 inches an hour, and sometimes even rainfall, 1.25 inches a minute. It's just unheard of. And so when you get the atmosphere capable of conducting this kind of electricity, plus the engineers, you're going to end up with weather that is center of circulation. It was very easy to add those particulates of aluminum, barium, and whatever else they want to put in there. Then as you add heat to that, those particulates then radiate the heat into the atmosphere, and it warms. And what does a warming atmosphere do? Boom, it expands. Very easy to add those particulates of aluminum, barium, and whatever.
That's going to be a repeat of the first video, and I'll put the link in and you can watch it. Circulate it? Yeah, circulate it. Here, Canada. Now prohibited to talk about the benefits of gasoline and gas for cars.
So tell me Canada isn't a communist country without telling me Canada isn't a communist country. I'll go first. Recently, some asshole on the NDP is introducing a new bill called C-372, also known as the Fossil Fuel Advertisement Act. And not only does it ban all advertising for our Canadian oil and gas companies, if you are a Canadian and you are caught speaking well of or promoting our oil and gas, could be a social media post, it could be a t-shirt with I love oil and gas on it, or a bumper sticker, anything like that, you can face up to 2 years in jail and a $500,000 fine. We all know that climate change is one of the biggest hoaxes out there, but this is our Canadian government. So tell me, Canada.
Yeah. Nissan slashes 2024 Raya price by up to $6,000 on most trims, whatever. They're slashing prices of the electric vehicles. Why? Because demand has really lessened. People don't want electric cars. Why? Because they're expensive? Because the battery breaks down? You're going to end up spending for a new battery close to the price of the car. They blow up in your garages, they explode, they go into flames. Builder lays off, hit, highest level. Layoffs hit, highest level since lockdowns. Housing is really collapsing. It's, the fabulous, great economy that we have here. I don't know if you saw this on my Never Lose Truth channel, but the whole house shook. Loud noises in the sky.
Putnam County, loud noises in the sky this past weekend literally rocked their world, and not in a good way.
We just had 2 huge booms over our house. I mean, my windows shook, the whole house shook.
30 911 calls were placed by people who had homes and property damaged by something that flew overhead. First Coast News is on your side, getting to the bottom of what caused that noise and the damage.
A little late Saturday morning, this loud noise, roaring noise came over the house. The whole house shook.
Teresa Bruce and her husband did not know what was happening at their home in Crescent City in southern Putnam County.
It blew all these signs off the wall. It shattered the glass and the light bulbs in this light fixture. This whole roof was like an ocean.
Nearby, friend Sue Delp had a similar experience at the same time. She heard
3 explosions, and my first thought was, we're at war, they're dropping bombs. That's how bad the house shook.
At the Bruce household,
the horses were running, the dogs were freaking out, the cat was freaking out.
30 911 phone calls came into the sheriff's office starting at 10 a.m. Saturday.
Literally knocked everything off.
But it dropped a bomb behind my house.
Knocked all the pots and pans off of the shelves.
Bruce was wanting to know more information about what caused that noise and rumble, and so she called NAS Jax. But the person at NAS Jax said no, it wasn't the Navy, it was actually the National Guard. First Coast News reached out to the Florida National Guard. It confirms F-15 jets similar to these were indeed in the area of southern Putnam County Saturday morning at that time. But at this time, the National Guard is not confirming it is responsible for the damage caused at homes across the area. The Florida National Guard is investigating to see if it is at fault. Bruce hopes her home is not structurally damaged and wants someone to be accountable.
Someone needs to speak to me and to speak to all the people in this town about the damage to their homes.
And so we will continue to monitor this and wait for an update from the Florida National Guard.
The Florida National Guard actually took responsibility, but will they take responsibility for the damage that they caused? Probably not. Oh, look at this. We have another mass shooting involving a SEPTA bus. This is Philadelphia. Mass shooting. Multiple law enforcement and other authorities are on the scene to a drive-by mass shooting in Philadelphia. Okay, so you see traffic. New York City reinstituting bag checks to combat rising subway crime. Eric Adams, the mayor of New York City, ordered a new series of security protocols to keep knives, box cutters, clubs, and guns off of trains and platforms. We know people feel unsafe, he said. We have a crisis in our subway system right now. So far this year, 3 people have been killed in the subway. 3 people have been killed. He repeated it. So our subway system right now is in a state of emergency. We are reinstituting bag checks. There are several things we are reinstituting in the system. He seems to repeat himself a lot. Bag checks, checking backpacks and other carry-ons were first instituted in the subways almost 20 years ago after a series of coordinated bomb attacks on the London subways in 2005. This time, cops are reportedly going to be looking for weapons. But that's, as opposed to bombs, I guess. But that's not all the mayor is doing. He's also still on the hunt for a weapons detection system like what is used at airports to install in the transit system. We're definitely on the pathway of coming up with some new technology that's going to help us identify weapons as well as guns. My big thing is guns. That's what Adam said. The city is also surging 1,000 more cops into the subways on a 12-hour shift. Wow. In response to crime on the transit system going up 13% since last year. Numerous incidents of late. A young pregnant woman was attacked Sunday night at the 168th Street station in Washington Heights. A 64-year-old man said he was kicked onto the tracks at Penn Station the same day. The governor is expected to unveil her plan for subway safety on Wednesday. Okay, so, amazing. They got it done. They got it done already. Remember, crime is used to control people. The National Guard, the cops, checking of the bags. And they have the technology. They have technology where they can just point, it's kind of like a laser gun at bags, and they can see. A 5G can do it, So this is all, oh my God, what bullshit. If people would just do the research to find out the technology that they have, Wi-Fi, they can see inside your home. 5G, you're walking past a 5G cell, and they can literally, it's like an X-ray that they can see everything that you're carrying on your person, in the bag. Yeah, we're looking for technology to assist us. So the cops are on it, and the National Guard right there. Oh boy. When they want to, they sure can get things done. Hochul deploys 1,000 National Guard and state police to patrol New York City subways. Troopers. To ensure that weapons are not being brought in. What about people being kicked onto the tracks? Homeless in the U.S. Supreme Court seeks to make homelessness illegal?
Last year, more than 650,000 people in the U.S. were homeless at some point in time, the highest number recorded since data began being collected nearly 2 decades ago. Rob Reynolds, Al Jazeera, Los Angeles.
So Eric Tars is a senior policy director with National Homelessness Law Center in Washington, D.C. You're joining us from Philadelphia, Eric. So the Supreme Court is at some point going to consider the legality of these laws that can forbid the homeless from camping in certain areas. What are the legal arguments here?
I mean, the question in this case is simple. Can cities that fail to meet everybody's basic needs for housing or even emergency shelter punish people with no choice but to sleep outside for using things like blankets or pillows? This is the most important Supreme Court case on homelessness in 40 years. And basically, the question is is it cruel and unusual punishment under our Eighth Amendment in our Constitution to force people to make this impossible choice? Right now in Grants Pass, Oregon, where this case originates, there's a winter storm warning. There's below freezing temperatures, snow falling, high winds. But the second that people wrap a blanket around themselves to protect themselves from the elements, that could be committing a crime. And so it's what we're saying is that it's cruel and unusual to force people to make that choice, whether to protect themselves from the elements or have to go to jail.
Just intuitively, what's a little hard to understand here is that, homelessness, I think we can all agree, is not usually a choice. People don't choose to be homeless. In fact, Rob reminded us in his report, more than 500,000 people in the U.S. were homeless at one point in time last year, which is the highest number for that in 20 years. So what can be the legal argument for then also criminalizing something that people haven't chosen?
That's exactly the point. There's no penological purpose here. There's no reason that punishing people for experiencing homelessness makes sense when we know that the causes of homelessness are actually the lack of affordable housing. Right now, there's a study that came out just a month ago that showed that more than half of Americans are paying more than they can afford in rent every month. In Grants Pass, that figure is the same. More than half of the renters there are paying more than they can afford. That means they're just one missed paycheck, one broken down car, one medical emergency away from homelessness. And if once they're evicted, they go out on the streets, they put a blanket over themselves to keep themselves warm, that could be a crime. That makes no sense. Tickets and fines and fees and arrests aren't going to solve homelessness.
USA, USA, USA. This is what we are. This is what we've always been. Okay? Just let it rip. It's really sad to see a whole people just, oh, I don't know you, maybe you care. But to see so many people just not give a shit. And more people are just going off the cliff. And then they'll get to know how many people care. Yeah. Veterans for first time in 12 years. The homelessness rate for the veterans have risen. First time in 12 years, that doesn't make sense to me, since veterans have been going homeless for a long time. Rises among U.S. veterans for first time in 12 years. There is concern that the increase in illegal immigration is affecting housing and resources for veterans. Oh, you think? As national, state, and local governments continue to spend billions of dollars to house, feed, clothe, and provide medical care for millions of illegal immigrants, homelessness among U.S. veterans has risen dramatically for the first time in 12 years. Remember those magnetic ribbons? I support my troops. I was in Great Barrington, Massachusetts. All the people that I knew that had that ribbon could give a shit. But hey, $1, I'll buy it. Put it in. The virtue signaling has been going on for a long time, and it's bullshit. I support my troops, but I don't support them when they come home. I don't want to listen to them. Oh yeah, they have a hard time, but you know what? Let them talk to a therapist, and I don't want to do anything for them in terms of their readjustment into a free society. And they're homeless, and I'll just walk right past them. 7.4% increase in the homelessness between 2022 and 2023, and estimates that more than 35,000 veterans are homeless on any given night. 35,000. Wow. Over the course of a year, almost twice as many veterans may experience homelessness. In total, HUD estimates that nearly 13% of the homeless adult population are veterans. Kate Monroe, a U.S. Marine Corps veteran and CEO of VetCom.us, calls this situation the ultimate betrayal by the U.S. government. What they are trying to do is get as many people into the U.S. as they can, southern border, all the illegal immigrants. And what they're saying to our homeless veterans is that we, as a country, don't care about you. The money spent on illegal migrants could cost Americans up to $451 billion by the end of the year. And according to NewYorkCity.gov, the official website for New York City, the Big Apple alone doled out $1.45 billion in 2023 to provide food, shelter services to tens of thousands of immigrants. Several published reports indicate that Chicago paid $138 million during the past year for the illegal migrants. California spent $22.8 billion for their care. I've been down to the border. Buses pull up and illegal migrants are given food, a cell phone, a plane ticket. Ms. Monroe said they are taking away housing and resources from veterans, and the American people are the victims. Well, that's quite right. And anybody care to read more? The link is in the chat. Iranian assassin on the loose in America, targeting Trump-era officials. There is a significant concern among federal officials that terrorists are entering the United States freely and could be plotting assassination attacks against former and current government officials. Semaphore, the Federal Bureau of Investigation's Miami field office, released new